Hi, I'm Dr. Gaby Cora at the National Publicity Summit with Sondra Sneed. Sondra, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
You have a fascinating background. An atheist, very science-driven, and all of a sudden you had a huge change. Tell us about it.
Well, in 2004, I was about ready to write in my journal, and all of a sudden the pen started writing without me, so to speak. And it said, "Unemployed, question mark. It is my assertion that you are employed by me." And I was, as I said, an atheist, or as you said, an atheist at the time, but the sense in the room, the energy in the room had changed. I felt as if kind of drifting into a dream state in that moment. And I knew that I was talking to God. And my next question was, I'm employed by God? And so anyway, that began almost a full year in solitude. I went through a severance package, I went through my savings, sold all my stock, and I spent a year in solitude with God.
How long had you been without a job?
At that point, it hadn't been more than a day or two. Yeah, it hadn't been more than a day or two.
And do you think that that was the trigger? That was something so significant that made an impact? Because in general you try to figure out, well, what happened before there was that big realization? Did you see it coming, for example, that you were going to be without a job?
I did. It was kind of a 2-week notice thing. So.
And prior to those 2 weeks of severance, or just alerting you that you were going to end up without a job, did you see it coming? Did you know that you were going to be fired or let go?
If I had been, smart enough, yeah. But, and sure, all this, looking back, you see all the telltale signs.
But at the time, no.
No, I was all about me before then,
What else did you notice, for example, during that transformation, which seems to be so significant in your lifetime, right? So, were these things, would they happen often to you, or not really?
Before that moment?
Yes. Like, did you see those signs before?
I had developed an ability to listen to my unconscious mind. And I had learned that in a psychology class in college or something like that, where you could do a form of free writing. And I would recognize that something deeper than my consciousness of this physical realm was at work. So I will say that I was priming the pump at that point.
So you had the tools and you had some ways in which you could go a little bit deeper, but this was an interesting and very different realization that really changed the course of your life in a way.
Yeah, no, absolutely, not just in a way.
In a big way.
Right. And over that course, that period of solitude, I filled thousands of pages in dialogue with God, and God. Literally, people use that word too much, but I really feel, I can't see the neurological changes, but I felt the neurological changes. I was being reprogrammed. I was being shown a way of looking at the world and my life within the world in a way that I never imagined. Most of us get our information from books, television, radio, magazines, other people. And I was getting information about the world from an inner source, a greater source, which is a completely different perspective of what of what's going on.
So what did you learn about yourself during that year of solitude that you're implementing these days in your work?
I'm going to answer that the way I want to answer that, which is a little bit different than how you've asked the question. And
Tell me in what way it's different.
okay, well, let me answer it first, and then I'll back up. So, what is very different? What began to change my way of living immediately was understanding that the work I do is to serve others, not to serve me. That in serving others, you are serving yourself. I am serving myself by serving others. So if I have a job that's like a job I know I'm not going to have for very long, or it's a temporary situation, in order to enjoy it more and get the most out of it, I simply think about I'm serving their need and I'm helping their business. And by thinking of it that way, then it's a much more enjoyable thing.
So you realize that your job needs to be around service for it to be meaningful and for you to enjoy it.
Yes.
Otherwise,
yes.
if you feel that it's just feeding you, it's really not.
A paycheck, if it's just a paycheck, money isn't going to make us happy in and of itself.
So what else has happened since you've gone through that experience, and something else that you found yourself bringing out to the world and serving others?
Well, so much. One is I was kind of a typical career woman that, wakes up at 40 alone and no personal life, and, focused totally on my career, and then all of a sudden, now what? Then I left New York City and moved to Houston, Texas, and I met my husband within 3 days of being down here. And that would not and could not have happened in the frame of mind that I was in before.
It's a totally different mindset and different life in very many ways. Anything else that you'd like to share with us?
Most importantly, that the God that I talk to, because I'm a science and technology industry writer, and I interview scientists and engineers.
Left brain.
Yeah, and I want to understand the story behind technology, the story behind science. That's how I interview God. And in my 2 books that I just finished, The Year I Fell to Earth and The Meaning of Life According to Its Design, these 2 books are question and answer interviews with the creator of the universe. So I ask questions that only the creator could answer with regard to how it's done or why it's done.
Sondra, what are the names of your books, and how can people get a hold of your books and of you?
The books are not out yet, but I would love it if people went to my website, and what you would get is a free download of the 5 principles for opening your mind and listening to your higher self. You get that free download, and you go to sondrasneed.com. That's sondrasneed.com, and you get that for free, and then I get a chance to tell you when my books are out.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.